It's primary day here in the city of Charlotte, and the North Carolina Forward Party currently trying to appeal to a lot of the independent voters out there. Patrick Newton is the chairman. He joined us earlier, but we had a few technical difficulties. Patrick, thanks for hanging in there. We appreciate it. Let's go back to the primary today here in Charlotte. As I mentioned, people can go vote in the Democratic primary. They can vote in the Republican primary. There's not a forward party, but you guys are still involved. How do you fit into all of this?
Well, we're really trying to create a new alternative for voters. As you mentioned earlier, there's more independent voters or unaffiliated voters in North Carolina than there are Republicans or Democrats. But at the moment, we don't have a party, which means we don't have representation. So we are actively pursuing ballot access, which means we need to get about 15,000 signatures as the requirement from the General Assembly so that we can appear on the ballot and give the people some more options.
Peleg, can you tell us more about the priorities of the Forward Party for those who are watching who maybe are unaffiliated, maybe they are Republicans or Democrats, but want to know more about another option? What are the priorities of the Forward Party?
Yes, no, it's a great question. So we rely on something called the Forward Formula. And what we do is when we look at policy development, we really try to avoid the binary divisive system that we currently have. And we look at problems and solutions from all different angles. So we do have, until we have ballot access, we have elected officials and candidates that we align with. They sign our candidate pledge, which is available on our website. It talks about things like grace and tolerance and listening and working with people. But we have forward Republicans, forward Democrats, forward independents, forward libertarians. And that's not, frankly, just the elected officials and candidates. I like to think of that for our voters as well. There's many people in North Carolina that, in the past have maybe tended to vote for Democrats most of the time or vote for Republicans most of the time. And that's okay. There's really a home for anyone that wants to join us as long as they want to be part of something that's reasonable, brings some common sense to the conversation.
There's no bigger story here in Charlotte and now nationally. It's even getting attention than this woman who was stabbed on the city's light rail. Republicans now saying that city leaders are soft on crime. Give us an idea. What would be the centrist approach, the solutions-focused approach when it comes to violent crime like this?
Well, it's funny. We had a conversation with Congressman Don Davis, who's a forward-aligned candidate. And one of the things he mentioned that really struck home with me is sometimes the solutions to these problems are not nearly as complicated as our elected officials tend to make them. So, obviously it's a tragic situation, but there is, again, I go back to the things that people agree on as opposed to the things people disagree on. We actually are more aligned with each other as citizens than the media or the politics will allow us to admit sometimes. So we would certainly approach this situation trying to find solutions that not only in working with law enforcement, but trying to get to some of the root causes and root problems of how these situations develop and how we can better develop guidelines and policies to prevent them in the future.
So you mentioned that there are some leaders, both Republicans and Democrats, who are aligned with the Forward Party policies and forward policy, sort of the ideas that you have there. Do you think that some of these leaders, though, the Democrats in Charlotte, the Republicans in the General Assembly, are failing voters?
Honestly, I do. I have the opportunity to work with a lot of elected officials, and many of them are truly decent people, really working for the right reasons. And especially when you get into some of the local politics of your city councils, your board of education. But there still are a lot of people in both parties that their solution is to be more extreme and more dug in and go farther to the extreme solutions. It is not working. People are not happy with it. And all the voters we talk to truly believe that we all deserve better. So it's time to really make some changes and present the people of North Carolina with a viable third party that they can trust.
I think a lot of people would agree with you that voters deserve better than some of the representation we get either locally or nationally. But I don't have to tell you third parties historically don't perform very well when it comes to candidates. How are you going to make yourself relevant going into future elections?
Well, one of the tragedies of our current election system is about 80% of elections are uncontested or uncompetitive, would be a polite way to put it. And that's a direct result of gerrymandering. And gerrymandering is a really toxic situation for us, not only in North Carolina, but across the country. And I want to be clear here. It's not a Republican problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It's a problem with the politicians that have the power and that are in control. So we need to change the laws, first of all, to make gerrymandering illegal. But in the meantime, you know, when you talk about third parties and success, we plan to run in many races where for years and in some cases decades, the voters in those districts or the voters in those towns have not had a real choice. Many of our elections are decided in the primary, which is why I would encourage the voters today to get out and participate. But we can really create an opportunity for people in areas that have been completely disenfranchised, again, for the first time in some cases generations, to present them with a true alternative. And that's a different way of going about this. And that's really, frankly, not what you've seen from other third parties in the past. So we're very excited. This is a new and innovative way to create some new opportunities for the people of North Carolina.
All right, Patrick Newton there, the chair of the North Carolina Forward Party. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate that, Patrick.
A pleasure. Have a great day.